Okay. So, Kevin, will we start with you? So, if that's okay with you,
Yeah, that's no bother.
I'll introduce you. This is Kevin Morgan, and he is a quantity surveyor with CISC, and he did his leaving cert in 2007. So, will everybody else mute their microphones now, just so we have just Kevin? And that's lovely. Hold on now. I have a question from someone already. Have I? Oh no, someone waiting. Sorry. I'll be hopping in and out here. There's people waiting, coming in and coming out. I don't know. Deirdre, did you get back in again? Did you? No. 1 second. So Kevin, you can fire ahead there. And I just want to let in the people that are in the lobby. Okay. Fire ahead. You can fire ahead there, Kevin, if you want to.
Okay, so hi everyone. So as Deirdre said, so I'm a quantity surveyor with John Sisk and Sons. I did the leaving cert in 2007. I think at 370 points or something, and from there then I went to GMIT. So when I did quantity, so yeah, in GMIT it was construction economics and quantity surveying, and when I went in, there was only a level 7. So I did my 3 years in GMIT. It was a great course and a great college to go to. Really enjoyed it. Some of the subjects that I would have done, really, I suppose, in the first year, you would have shared a lot of classes with architects and civil engineers and with construction management and thing. Then in the second and third year, then you'd branch off into the more quantity surveying related subjects. So like in first year, we did the likes of maths and law for the built environment, and you did surveying and things like that. In second year, you branched into a bit more of health and safety. Then you went into measurement, which would be more QS related. You went into, there'd be CAD as well. You'd have done cost studies and different things, and you'd have done different project QS computer applications as well. Third year, then for me anyway, as it was a 3-year course, then you had placement in my third year. It was only 6 weeks placement, and I did that with Owen Dervins in Roscommon. And as I said, then what other ones? Then you'd have done different. You'd have got over the years. You get different tastes of what options you have in QS and as well. So you'd start, well, you'd have a few options. You could go into QS and with for civils, which would be more dealing with roadworks and things like that. Then you can also go into the building side of it, which is what I'm involved in at the moment. But more specifically, you can go into the services side, which is what I'm actually at the moment, and which I branched into. And services will be more the M&E side of it. So you get a taste of all them when you're in college, and you do different I suppose different periods of measurement of the different types, whether it be civils, whether it be building, or whether it be the M&E side of it. After my 3 years, then I took a year out because a lot of lads were heading to Scotland and that, and it just didn't suit me at the time to go. So I got a job there local, just tipped along for a year and gathered a few pound. And then I was always in contact with the lecturers, and it's one good thing about GMIT is you get to know the lecturers very well up there, and everyone sort of know. I think a lot of the ITs are very similar. Like, you have good interaction with the lecturers, and they'd me told anyway before I finished my third year that they were going to try and get a level 8 back in Galway. So after my year out anyway, I was constantly in contact with them. One of the lecturers actually who had a lot to do with getting the level 8 into GMIT was Sean Kenny, who has since left. He's a TD in Tuam there. A lot of you might know him. He'd be ex-Ratikans as well, so he'd have great experience. And that's one thing I found about all the lecturers in there. They've all great experience from the industry, whether it be from the likes of the big building contractors there, whether it be CISC or whether it be Ratikans, or whether it be from the PQS firms as well. And I don't think I mentioned that, but alone. You can also go down the PQS route as well, which would be more your ACOMs who are managing projects probably direct for the client, more so than working for a building contractor or something like that, or a subcontractor or a main contractor. You work direct for the client. So as I said, I kept in contact with the lecturers, and Sean Kenny told me then that they'd got it in and I'd be able to go back then after my year out, and I'd be one of the first for the level 8 in GMIT, which was great in one way, but obviously when you're the first of a new course that's been set up, you have nothing to go off, you have no past exam papers or anything, so it wasn't easy, but at the same time the lecturers were very good, and that's it. I think now they have the full accredited level 8, which I'm accredited as well, which is great because they backtracked for that year, for the first year. And since leaving then, I suppose just on the fourth year, I suppose the big thing in fourth year was obviously the dissertation, and I suppose to go big into the capital works management framework, which is how the whole procurement is done here in Ireland and the different contracts that are in place for the different jobs. So they are the main subjects you'll be covering, but you get a good taste and you get a good understanding. And I actually know since I've left anyway, they've gone big into BIM and the different softwares that are available for helping takeoffs and things like that for quantity surveyors, which wasn't really in my time, but that has come on big time in the last 10 years as well, so it has. So since leaving GMIT, then I have had probably four or five maybe different employers. I started off with Glenman and got about a year with them. And at the time, things weren't overly busy, but there was one big job in the country, was Intel. And that's where I decided then to branch off into the M&E side of things. So I got an opportunity with Mercury Engineering to go up to Intel. And I worked up there for about a year. And then I got relocated to Limerick, where I worked on Regeneron, which was the old Dell factory. Again, working as a mechanical quantity surveyor now. So I'd sort of gone away from the building surveying and gone specifically into M&E, more so mechanical. And after about 2.5 years with Mercury, then I got an opportunity to move back to Galway with Kirby's, and I took that. And I did a stint in estimating with them in their mechanical division. Again, definitely worth doing, and it's like quantity surveying, as I said, you have your different areas, but you can also go into estimating side of things as well if you didn't want to if you didn't like the QS side of it. You have estimating, you have procurement. There's different areas. It's not just QS, and as I said, and it's not just building. There's different areas of QS, and there's different, and if QS isn't your interest in, or if you didn't like it, you can always go to purchasing, you can always go to procurement, you can always go to estimating. And it's great to get all different, as many of them experience as many of them as possible, like so, and that's what I have tried to do. So I did my estimating with them, and then I got moved out into the QS side of it. I worked on Slane Castle Distillery. I was up there with them. I worked in Alexion and Athlone with them. And then I had a phone call in one day from some recruitment crowd that told me about a big job in the Midlands that was coming up, and would I be interested? And that was Center Parcs. So I jumped at that one, to be honest, which it was a job that I thought would be very interesting to work on. So that was with CISC, and I've been with CISC ever since. So when I first joined CISC, that was my first job with them, was Center Parcs. I was up there for about 1.5 years for that. Center Parcs was a massive, I think it was 230 million altogether. There was 3 main contracts on that job. CISC had 2 of them, and Roadbridge then had another. So Roadbridge did all the civils work, they did all the infrastructure to put in they dug out the big lake up there, and they did all the roadways and brought in all the services and things like that. CISC then had the 2 contracts. One was the lodges. I wasn't involved with that, but they built all the 470 or 80 lodges, whatever there is up there. and then they had the centre buildings. So just roughly, I think the centre buildings was around 90 million, the lodges was around 80 million, and then probably the infrastructure, then road bridges was probably around 60 million of that. And there'll be one or two other small contracts as well. But so yeah, when I was in Centre Parks, then I got where I was predominantly working mechanically and working for subcontractors. I was now going to the other side of the table, working for a main contractor and working, I suppose, managing the subcontracts really is what I do be at. So on that job, you had the M&E packages. I would have also managed all the specialist catering equipment and also the pool filtration, which was an interesting one because there's not too many of them that you get to work on in Ireland. So they were the packages that I managed up there. And I also, as I said, I sort of branched into electrical now as well, and getting to know that in the last year or two. By no means an expert in it, but or even in mechanical, but you'll be still learning. And after finishing Centre Parks, now I've moved back to Galway with CISC, and I'd be involved with Bonham Quay there as well in Galway on the docks, and I'd be doing a lot of tendering as well for them at the moment, especially looking after any M&E tenders that come in.
And Kevin, when can you give us an idea of, say, what you do? What does the job involve? Do you know what I mean? Like hands-on.
Well, every job is different, I suppose. When I was working with Mercury and Kirby's, I suppose you go out and you work in your Lexions or Regenerons, and they're all remeasurable jobs. So on them particular jobs, you have agreed a set of rates, and then the QS then has to more or less measure that job from scratch and figure out the value of the job and put in applications. Whereas now I am managing the M&E subcontractors, so they are feeding their applications into me. Every job, like I suppose, yeah, it's like it's hard to say put it all into one because they're all different. Every job is different. Like you have, as I said, that's a remeasurable job, whereas you could have a lump sum contract. You go in, you know what the job is, you've priced it off a set of drawings or whatever, you've priced it off in the specification, and you know what's going in. Then you're just managing the cash flow and everything else. You're paying out your subbies, but then you're looking at variations as well. So if the client comes and looks for additions, you're pricing them variations as the job is going on as well. And there might be de-scope, or scope might increase as well. So you're constantly dealing with money, you're constantly trying to meet budgets, you're constantly making sure the job is not overspending as well. So like for CISC now, who's managing the subcontract packages, if you have a package that's worth 10,000, you're not letting that package go for 12,000. You have to get it done for 10. So you're going out, you're procuring the job, you're procuring it to get the best value, and you might be there might be opportunities for V where you can save money as well, and you'll be looking at all these different opportunities as well.
Do you like your job?
I do, yeah.
It was a good choice.
Don't look at it. It's like everything. Different companies I was with, like the company I'm with now, I'm very happy with them. But look at some of the companies too, like that you come across lads that might like to micromanage you and different things, and you'll have that in every job.
Mm-hmm. That is
Don't
true.
really, I didn't like that. So one good thing I'll say about QSing is that there is huge opportunities out there, not just here in Ireland. You can go travel the world with it. You go and you can easily go on and you'll see that there's always jobs. There's always there's always jobs. Like look at things might quieten down in the West. You might have to go to Dublin, or you might have to go somewhere. You might have to go Limerick or whatever else. But and this isn't a lie now, I was in Kirby's at the time, and I think I had a LinkedIn profile at the time as well. But I have had lads ringing me up, even in my workplace, looking for you to see would you be interested in jobs. So there is there's massive opportunities out there in it. And as I said, like it's not just, as I said, there's M&E side of it, there's the building side of it, there's the civil side of it. You can go down the PQS route then, where you're working directly for the client and the design team. And you're involved early on in the project as opposed to being involved in building side of it, you know.
Mm.
So there's
Very
huge,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it is interesting in fairness, and there is a lot.
Is it primarily male oriented? Would you have many female?
Yeah,
female.
it would be, to be honest. Now, I haven't come across too many, but I know
Oh, he's gone. Kevin, you're gone. No, he's gone. I don't know what happened there. Okay, I'll just see. Yeah, he's probably gone out to the lobby now. Just 1 second, I'll let him in now. Kevin, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
No problem. I don't know what happened there. Keep going, you're grand.
But yeah, no, like CISC have a few, like they'd have plenty of females working in Dublin, but I haven't dealt with them, and I haven't come across too many in my time in the jobs that I've worked on. But yeah, like it would be probably more male. In fairness. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's all really. You've covered nearly everything I was going to even ask you, Kevin. So unless anybody has any questions, does anyone have any questions for Kevin in relation to quantity surveying? You can put it in the chat if you're a bit shy to ask any questions, or if Kevin doesn't mind, can I pass on your email address to anyone who wants to ask questions about quantity surveying afterwards, Kevin? They're not as shy when they're afterwards. Would that be all right with you?
That's no bother, yeah.
Brilliant. That's super. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time now. Thanks a million.
No bother.
I don't think there's any questions. Does anybody have any questions for Kevin while he's there? Nothing at the minute anyway. If anybody does have any questions, just put it into the chat. And as I said, I will pass on the email address to anyone that's interested in quantity surveying. Kevin, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks a million.
We'll see you. Bye.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Sean. Sean Rafter, you're next now. Sean was supposed to be first on the agenda, but anyway, it's all right. We'll take him now. And Sean did his Leaving Cert in 2016. Is that correct, Sean?
Yeah, and 17.
And we don't need to be divulging too much information to them now. They don't need to know about that. I forgot the 17 bit. Okay, so Sean is doing agricultural science in University College Dublin. So he's going to tell you a bit about maybe the subjects that he'd advise you to pick for the third years, and maybe about the course, the subjects in it, and a little bit about Dublin and all that as well. Thank you, Sean.
No problem. How's it all? As she said, Sean Rafter here, some of you probably know me. I have a couple of brothers still left there. But yeah, I first did the Leaving Cert in 2016. I was hoping for Ag Science in UCD, and I missed out by a few points. So I was at a crossroads at that stage. I was playing football that year, so that kind of affected the job. But then the second year I came back. I decided to repeat after great thoughts. But it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made in the end, even though it didn't look like it at the time. Then I got my course in UCD Dublin. I took Ag Science, a level 8 degree. I think it's down as DN 250 or something there on the what's it called, whatever that joke. So then for the Leaving Cert, the subjects I kind of selected on was kind of to base around agriculture, because I kind of knew that's what I wanted. So I kind of took more practical subjects, which it was my forte in school compared to, we'll say, the likes of languages and all that crack. So I did my core subjects, maths, English, what you have to do, and then I decided to do the woodwork, which was practical, the geography, Ag Science, and I picked up metalwork in the second year. Kind of the reason that I did do these subjects was they were project based, a lot of the work, so you kind of had a lot of the work done before you went in, which was a great benefit, we'll say, in the lines of getting the points you needed, you know, because the points for the course at that stage, them years were rising every year by 10 and 15 points at a time. You just never knew when you were going to have kind of enough, you know. The first time I was actually half thinking of doing dairy business, because there was a couple of the lads from there, from my year on about, they were going doing dairy business. So I was kind of at a crossroads there as well, but I didn't go down that area. Then we'll say in first year, I first moved up to UCD. I took campus accommodation, Belgrove, They're right beside the campus. All the campuses are kind of based within, we'll say, a mile or whatever less probably than the main study hub. So the subjects we'll say in first year were it was kind of more introduction subjects. We'll say on the lines of physics, your chemistry, your biology, all kind of related to science, not so much agriculture. We'll say in first year, so we were kind of in with, we'll say, food science and all science kind of students, which gave a great chance. We'll say for someone coming from, we'll say, down the west up to meet a lot of new people from all over. We'll say so that was probably one of the main benefits of first year, where you had all your introduction subjects as well. So much the same, would say, the likes of chemistry that you're doing there and leaving certain now, your biology, your physics, it all kind of it's much the same, So if you're doing them subjects, you're kind of well on track, we'll say, for the first year in that course. Then second or first year, actually, it will say it's broad. You don't decide on what you want to do, so it's just like a normal science degree. But then in second year, you have to decide if you want to do animal science, equine science, animal and crop, or whatever. So in second year, you have to decide by the end of first year. So I decided to do animal and crop, we'll say, at that stage. So then we'll say second year, you were still doing your main science subjects, but it was kind of more delved into towards the agricultural sector. We'll say all your physics, chemistry, biology, it was all related back into agriculture. So we'll say the likes of your biology, you learned all about the animal, rumen, all types, Then in second year also, we'll say it brought more ag policy into it, and business kind of orientated as well, to give you that option. Before, actually, I must say that it's actually a very broad degree. It's not just all about science. It brings a lot of business and also into it as well. So if you want to kind of take up that road. Then in third year, you do your PWE placement. You do 40 weeks placement. You do your first semester in UCD campus. And then after Christmas, you go out on 40 weeks PWE, where you have to do an experience diary, and you have to do up a project on your work experience, where you actually do get interviewed by two of the module coordinators with agriculture in UCD. So for my placement, you have to do 4 weeks in pigs, dairy, beef, sheep, and business, we'll say. So if you were coming from an agricultural background, we'll say you can do, the likes for me, we're beef and sheep at home, so I didn't have to do beef or sheep, so I could change my placements into something more that I hadn't done. So I spent more time in the dairy, and I spent more time in the business side of things. So for my dairy placement, I went to John Spallin Dairies in Athlone, just outside Glaston, where they're milking 700 cows. So I spent 8 weeks there. Following that, I did my pig placement in John Sheridan in Ballinrobe. Then I had my sheep and beef done at home. I actually spent a short time with beef at a pedigree herd outside Tuam with Milburn Pedigrees. And finally, I did my business with Jay Grinnan and Sons, Agri in Rathborough, County Offaly, who I was kind of working with on the side besides that before then. After that, then we were supposed to come back to UCD there in fourth year, where our modules kind of changed a bit, we'd say, from science, and they went more into, we'd say, crops, animals and all that kind of thing, because I decided to do ACP, which is animal and crop production. So we went more into the production side of things, we'll say, but we were supposed to be back in UCD for the final year, but it just didn't come into play with COVID. Also, I meant to say, we were supposed to go on your PWE placement. It's advised to go abroad. So we all had kind of connections made to go abroad, but with COVID and everything, ours was the first year that it was kind of more or less stopped. Now, there was a couple of lads that had to go before Christmas. They went to Australia and they got going, but the majority of students were stopped from going abroad, which kind of was probably the big downfall for my year of doing it, Other than that, placement was a great chance for you to really see all different sides of the sector. You got an insight into all ideas where you thought that you may, like, I was fully set on, say, going into the beef and sheep, but when you go into a different side of things, it'll broaden the horizon and show you that you can go. There's so many different ways you can go. So yeah, now we're in the last semester in fourth year. I don't know, is it 2 months or something left up there, and we're just kind of doing more or less. You pick your two electives, uh, your electives and your main base topics in as well, which is all kind of related back to the sciences again in fourth year, which are ag policy, your business, all that side of things coming in again. I just want to say, actually, first and second year actually don't affect your final GPA. They're the build up to your GPA, but it's only third and fourth year that really counts. Now, I probably shouldn't be saying that, but it's the third and fourth year is what your degree is actually based off. The good thing about animal and crop is that there's no thesis for the end of it. So it's fully project based on your PWE placement and then your 12 final exams. Let me see, where can we go from there? Yeah, so we'll say then, as I said in first year, I was selected for Belgrove. So Belgrove accommodation, which I kind of would advise, we'll say, as a first year student going to Dublin, where we'll say you haven't been really out of Glen or wherever you want to say. It's kind of a good idea to live on student accommodation because that's where you'll probably meet most of your friends and peers for first year. So the accommodation in Dublin, that's the one main thing about the accommodation in Dublin. It's quite expensive. So my Belgrove accommodation for first year was just over 7,000, I think. Then in your fees are approximately, I think, between 4,000 and 5,000 a year. I think something like 4,500 or 4,600. And then on second and third year, I decided to get out of campus. So you'll meet your friends and you'll all decide to get houses, and it'll make things a lot easier. So your accommodation actually in second and third year depends on yourself, really. It depends how much you're willing to share in a house in Dublin. So I was paying 420, but I was sharing, there was 12 of us, I think, in the house. So you can imagine how that was now. But yeah, but it was at the time that probably rent prices were that so expensive in Dublin. I think since the COVID has hit in and all that, crack, rent has come back big time. What should I go from there? Yeah, the final exams of each semester aren't held on the UCD campus. They're held in the RDS. In where is it? Out in close to Dublin. Ballsbridge, yeah, that's the spot. All the final exams for each semester are held in Ballsbridge. Where do we go from here? Oh yeah, the one main thing about our course, it's kind of not all based on males. We'd say it's 50-50. My year split, I think, 50-50 males and females. So as I said, it's kind of general. It's not just all about, we'll say, farmers and along the likes of that. There's people from all over. There's actually a lot of people from inner city Dublin that are actually sitting the degree now. They're not in animal and crop, but they're in animal science and along the lines of that. Then the campus itself, it's massive. It's huge, and it's expanding all the time. The thing with the accommodation, I think the last time I was up there anyway, they're still building on student accommodation. They're building on new areas for, we'll say, for the likes of first year students. With accommodation, the kind of base student accommodation on campus is kind of more. It's given more, we'll say, to the likes of first year students and final year students, and kind of along the lines of master students as well. They don't really. I tried to get a student accommodation second year, but it just wasn't happening. Then there's the gym in UCD, which is, I think, probably one of the best in Ireland. You have your Ad Astra gym, where if you're involved with any of the competition teams in UCD, you're allowed into, and then there's the normal gym. One thing I'd say about within UCD College is to join as many society as you can, because there's many benefits. Like, just don't need to join the Ag Society. Like, there's plenty of Vet Society and all that, which are all massive benefits in different ways. They'll help you out along the lines, because you'll be able to get different information from all them things leading up to, we'll say, exams and all that sort of crack. As I said, with placements, yeah, we didn't get the chance to travel abroad, but I definitely advise it. If one thing I could change about my experience in UCD was to go on placement. I was supposedly supposed to be heading for Denmark and Australia, but it just didn't work out in the end. Would say kind of your electives. You'll get your choice of electives in first year. Just on that, if any of the students do decide to do it, I always talk to a few students that went ahead of me on deciding electives because, as I said, first and second year doesn't matter. So you don't want to use up your easy electives kind of in first year. You're as well to keep them for the fourth and fifth year, where it's easier to get higher grades in them to get a better degree, you know. But as I said, you can get through to Deirdre there about that, and she'll get back to me.
Yeah.
After college, so I don't rightly know. It is probably one of the most employable sectors at the moment, agriculture. But and you probably can't travel anywhere all over the world between New Zealand. I've friends that were in years ahead of me, and they're scattered all over, from America, New Zealand, Australia, anywhere. But when I was in college, I was kind of always involved with, say, in the line of construction and along the lines of that. And I spent 2 summers in New York, where I kind of got involved with a company out there. So as of now, I'm kind of I'll be heading more towards the construction for a couple of years. Anyway, I'm thinking I was looking into doing something along the lines of construction as a after college, of course, something along the lines of that. But definitely down the road, we'll say it'll be always coming back to the agricultural kind of idea. Look, it's a degree that you can kind of get into anything down along the lines. We'll say if it's anything, we'll say business orientated or science orientated, you know. There'll be no problem kind of getting a job along the lines of it, you know.
Do you know of many students that are traveling abroad to do veterinary from the course? Do you know of any?
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
I do. Yeah. Actually, was it in second year? There was, I think, was it 7 that left Ag Science and went to Warsaw in Poland to do veterinary. Now the thing about that is, it's a way into veterinary. Our course, if you get DN 250, the first year covers the first year of veterinary actually in Warsaw, because they do the same base core modules as us in the lines of physics, biology, and chemistry. You have to sit in 2 entry exams actually to get in there, which the boys that did it when I was when in my year, they kind of flew through it. They said it wasn't too difficult, but look at it's a way of getting into it. It's not probably the handiest way of doing it. We'll say it kind of worked out good for these lads because they're at home. It's all online, but they were finding it quite difficult at the start. We'll say, being in Warsaw and not coming home for months on end. Look, it's a way of doing it, but they probably wouldn't advise it themselves either. It's not all sunshine, you know. But yeah, the first year of UCD covers the first year of veterinary in Warsaw, I think, and plenty of the other ones, I think, you know.
Mm. What was your favourite part of the course?
What was my favourite part of the course?
What bit was your favourite, and what bit did you not like?
My favourite part was probably coppers, I suppose. I know. The night out.
I said of the course, Josh.
Oh yeah, sorry. Of the course. Oh, definitely my placement. 100% placement. Placement was the main reason was it took up so much of it. It went towards our final degree, how good our placements were, and it was just a great experience to get an insight into all aspects of every sector in it. So without doubt, yeah, I'd say my PWE placement was definitely the highlight of it. And look, at first year is as good of year that you'll ever probably have. You know, you wouldn't change it for anything. You'll meet so many new people as well through UCD, and look at they're where you'll have friends for life from them as well. You know, all over the country, and it's just a real. It's probably first year is where you'll meet most connections. Like, there might be only small, we'll say, but for down the road, it'll always come back to help, you know.
Yeah, you were lucky though. You were pre-COVID though. You know, with this year's first years wouldn't have had as good an experience as probably 100%, you did. But
no, 100%.
You know, down the line, hopefully it'll improve again for this crowd when they get there. Yeah,
exactly. No, look at what's the main thing is I learned anyway from being in GCS and all that crack was whatever's for you, I'll never pass. Because
Yes.
we'll say with repeating and all that crack, I wasn't sure what I was doing at the time. But it definitely, that's the way it always works out, I have to say. Other than that, no, I don't think if there's any questions there we can answer. If anyone has questions
Lovely.
outside it,
I
you
don't
can
think
send on
you've covered everything I wanted to ask you anyway. Does anyone have any questions for Sean? If you have, use the chats there. If you don't want to talk. I think so. And again, Sean, I might pass out your email to anybody that needs it. And Sean, I've actually already passed it out to a few people, I think. So he doesn't mind talking if anybody wants to ask any questions in relation to ag science or, even the placement or anything like that.
Oh yeah, and even with placements there, if anyone does decide to get into it, they can give us a shout. We can help organise placements, and I know plenty of places where you can get them in.
Brilliant. That's super, Sean. Thank you so much.
No problem.
So guys, again, same idea here. If you want information from Sean, just let me know and I'll pass on his email to you. I don't think anyone's any questions here at all. That's okay. That's it, I think. No questions, Sean. You're off the hook. Okay, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks a million. I'll talk to you soon. Good luck.
Bye.
Okay. Next up is Deirdre Dolan. Deirdre, are you still there? She was there a few minutes ago anyway. I think she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. We have no. Yes, we have you. There you are. Okay.
Can you hear me?
So Deirdre is, yes, we can hear you perfectly now. Thanks. Deirdre did her Leaving Cert in 2017. And she's now studying architecture and she's going to tell you all about that. Okay, off you go, Deirdre.
Yeah, so I'm just, I did my 3-year bachelor's in UCD and I'm in my 4th year now, which is my first year of my master's. So I was always interested in art and design. So I was either going to do architecture, interior design, fashion design, or culinary arts. And in the end, I only put down architecture in like UL, UCD, and DIT. So for UL, you need to do a portfolio, which can be like art or any technical drawings or whatever. And then DIT is a suitability test and a portfolio. I mean, an interview that you bring a portfolio to. I guess I chose Dublin because it was the city I knew the most about. And yeah, so it is a long course. It's a 3-year bachelor's and a 2-year master's. And there's a new system in place in UCD that is a 4-year bachelor's of science. And then you can choose to do a master's in architecture, or you can specify into conservation, architectural history, landscape, urban planning, urban design, interior design, project management, and there's more things as well. You can also study architecture in Cork, in CIT or UCC, or UL, DIT, and Queen's. The UCD course is quite structured and there isn't much choice in the projects, but I heard other places they're a bit more open. So I do enjoy the course, but I would recommend to do a bit more research into the different colleges and the way they teach if you like different things. Also, only 3rd year counts towards your bachelor's and the 2nd year of the master's counts. So 1st and 2nd year, you can kind of take it a bit more easy than I did and kind of enjoy the campus a bit more. So I'll graduate after this year with a bachelor's, and then I plan to take a year out next year because there is no placement. So I hope then after I graduate my master's to hopefully specify in more residential designing and one-off houses. So after you graduate, you usually are advised to like work for 2 to 3 years, and then you have to go back to do a professional exam to become a fully registered architect and be able to sign off on projects. So in terms of the Leaving Cert, I did art, home ec, French, and biology. But there are no really set like subjects that you really need. I thought that art is beneficial for like creativity and like all the sketching. I didn't do DCG, but it's fine because in 1st year, there's a module on like the basic techniques for drawing, and each year you progress. Construction would also probably benefit for construction details and model making. There is a building lab with all the machinery, and you can make models from foam, cast concrete or wood. I'd advise that maybe you do work experience to get a feel for it. I did mine in 5th year in secondary school with Ready Architecture in Dublin. It's quite a large firm. And then I did an internship with them in their Galway office 2 summers ago. So I've seen what the large firms are like. So I want to, for my year out, go into a smaller firm and see what that's like. So the course, there's about 50 in the year, and then you're divided into smaller groups in the studio. So you know everyone because the year is so small, and there's an even mix of males and females. It is a quite tough course. It's 9 to 6 every day with a 1 hour break. But if you're interested and you want it, it's worth it. Also, it's a lot of time. Like sometimes at the beginning of projects, you can be constantly thinking of ideas and sketching ideas just at the beginning of the project. We also work in groups a lot, which is practice for when you're working in a work situation. We work with some engineers in our engineering module. So studio is the main module. So you have a desk, which is a base, which I really enjoyed. Like you're there most of your time and you get to chat to everyone. So you have tutorials then with your tutors 3 times a week, either one-to-one or small group discussions. So you get to know your tutors very well as well. During COVID, we were working online with tutorials twice a week now. And last semester, half the year was in 2 days and the other half of the year was in the other 2 days. But it was hard to, it's different. So then there's different modules then on added to the studio. You have history, drawing techniques, construction studies, environmental studies, engineering, and building regulations. And this year there's a module each semester on research essays, which helps us for writing our thesis next year. So we have a choice of topics and titles. So last semester I did nature and healing in hospital architecture, and this semester I'm doing household waste and consumerism, and how to alternative lifestyles and living would help this. You also learn how to use different softwares on computers. So for the first 2 years, it's all hand drawings, and then you learn to use softwares in either your modules or electives. So Vectorworks, CAD, Revit, Photoshop, and InDesign for laying out your work. And then for most of the years, you have no classes on Thursdays, but you're nearly always working either at home or in the studio for the tutorials on Friday. But you do have them off. But if you get all the work done the rest of the week, you can try and get Thursday free. Also electives, if a lot of them are on Thursday. So you can do a discipline of architecture or a language. So I did digital drawing, which was learning how to use CAD, photography, the practice of architecture, and this semester I'm doing urban design. It's a very practical course, so it's continuous assessment with a set interim review and final review, where you present your work in front of tutors and about a third of the year group. You also have a portfolio booklet to submit at the end of each semester, which contains all your scanned rough work, the development, and then all your finished drawings. And some of the years we got to design exhibitions in the studios, which was quite fun. And there's a lot of making, so we make models continuously. And in first year, we got to design tables without any nails or glue. It was all just joints, and we had our Christmas dinner on them. And probably why making a table? It was a bit strange for making a table in an architecture course, but then there's an awful lot of late nights coming up, review days, and there's plotters in studios. And if you are doing it, don't leave it till last minute to plot, because there's an awful lot of people plotting, and it could become very stressful. But and then you have other projects and essays for the other modules and the odd in the semester exams. So I'm currently on my 2-week study break, which we usually go abroad. So this time last year I was in Seville, and we've been to Rome and Venice. And then we also travel around Ireland doing survey work for the beginning of projects. So Dublin, Rush, Kilkenny, and last semester we did a project in Boyle, but we didn't get to actually go because a lot of people couldn't make it down. There's an opportunity to do the Erasmus in either your semester in your fourth year. So you can go within Europe or outside Europe. And then just talk about the campus of Richview. It's about a 15-minute walk from the main UCD campus, which is good in some ways because we don't get distracted by all the things going on the main campus. But it isolates us a bit, and it's in a quite old building. But they are building a new building closer to the main campus, which is starting in a few years' time, I think. So that's good. So I can show you a bit of my projects that I've done if I share the screen.
Please, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
Is that sharing? No. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm muted. Excuse me.
Oh.
We can see you and hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I'll just go into full screen mode. So it's long enough, but I can go through them quickly. So these are just some models that we did in first year. None of the drawings, as I said, they were all hand drawn. So I don't want them scanned. There's the small table and a few bits and pieces. So this was a project in first year that I drew up digitally in my second year. So obviously you plan sections, your physical models, and then rendered models and elevations. And then second year we did a thing along O'Connell Street. So it was those little tree houses. And this was an exhibition that we did. And these are some of my sketches from my Venice sketchbook. Then second year, we looked into doing co-housing. So in Rush, so you have your model, side plans, section of threshold. These are plans then that I had drawn up by hand, but I drew them up digitally for my portfolio for getting a job for next year. And then you have structural sections, structural models. Then you have rendered elevations and sections. And then as the years go on, you get more like able to like Photoshop in your models into pictures. And then when I learned how to use Revit, I used that to figure things out with this project of a bike shelter. And you just get to like be able to see things clearer when you have more softwares. And then we did a group side model for a hostel. So you have plans, elevations, rendered sections to show inhabitation. And then you make your model or a digital model. And then third year, second semester, we were in Kilkenny also, and we were focusing on an arts festival. So we got to design a ticket office. So you have plans, models, plans, elevations, sections, structural sections, and then we did a performance center. So we made a group model, and I did this part, which was done by you draw it up digitally on CAD, and then it gets into a laser cutter, and all the windows and everything gets cut out. So it's less work than doing it by hand. So you have plans of thing, axonometrics to describe the building more, site sections. Then you go into more detail of inhabitation and construction details, more rendered sections and physical models. And then this was the end of the semester exhibition that we had to do online because of COVID. So you just put all your work together just to show it, and layout is important when you're doing presentations. And then this year, so last semester, we did a housing scheme for Boyle. So we got model, plans, elevations. Then you go into more detail of thresholds and elevations, and then more detail of different housing, the sections, and then even more detail of the construction of it, construction details, and interiors, models. This was the last semester's exhibition. And then this semester we're doing something quite different. We're looking into the Royal Hospital, Kilmainham, and the Irish Art Museum that's in it. So I was in the river group, and I was looking at the topography and level changes between the Liffey and Camac and the canal. So I did sections of through the city of the changing levels. And then just there last week we had loads. So I was looking into the actual site and how people experienced how experienced the modern in the old building. And I'd just like to point out that all this is finished work, and there's so much more before that. So like a plan could have 10 different varieties before you come to the final final design. So I can't hear you.
You're back. Yeah, you weren't gone there for a minute. What I wanted to ask you was, is there anything in the course that you didn't expect? You know, that when you came in first, that you kind of, even from doing all the research that you did, which was huge, was there anything that you said, oh God, I didn't expect this to be this way, or anything like that?
Well, in first year, I didn't expect, it was quite abstract. The very first semester was very abstract projects, which I didn't expect that at all. So we were making memory models of like, and then the second semester was completely different. It was very structured. I don't know, I expected like that it was going to be tough. I was told by so many people that it was going to be a tough course. So that I wasn't too shocked by that, but no.
And is there any particular part of it that's your favorite part, or do you like it all? Or is there
I like the studio.
Okay.
Not the biggest fan of the engineering modules.
Okay.
Just the studio and being able to actually like do designs. Can be frustrating though, because you could think your design is brilliant and then the tutors are like, no.
God.
But then these few years now, the last 2 years, they can't tell you what to do. They just give you advice and it's up to you to take it. Whereas in first and second year, like you had to kind of take what they were saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really good. Thanks so much, Deirdre, for that.
No problem.
It's brilliant. Anybody have any questions about architecture or any questions for Deirdre before I move on? Again, in the chats, if you like. I don't think there's any question coming through here at all. Nobody's asking any questions. There's usually one person who asks all the questions. I don't know if she's here tonight. Anyway, if Deirdre doesn't mind, again, same as the others, I might pass on if they needed to. If anyone has any questions in relation to architecture, I'll pass it on to you via the email if that's okay. Thanks so perfect. Much, Deirdre. That was super. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we're doing Mighty now. Next up is Leah Pettit. If you're there, Leah.
Yeah. Hi. Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Good. Can't see you though at the minute. Okay.
Perfect.
I know you probably preferred that, Leah, but we'd like to see you.
Did everyone else have their cameras on? Did everyone else have their cameras on?
They did, Leah. They did, funny enough.
Okay.
Leah's a bit camera shy. Yeah, we'd like to see you, Leah.
Okay. You see me now?
Lovely. Brilliant. Okay, Leah is going to talk to you about occupational therapy, which she's studying in NUIG. And she did her Leaving Cert in 2019. It's just like, it only feels like yesterday. It nearly was only yesterday, Leah. So she's going to talk to you, and at the minute she's actually on her work placement at the minute, so she'll tell you where she is and where she's staying and all that kind of stuff as well. Okay, Leah, I'll leave it over to you. Brilliant.
Okay, so as she said, my name is Leah, and I know a lot of you probably know me to see anyways. and I'm in second year in NUIG doing occupational therapy. So just a bit of background from what I was doing in school. So I did English, Irish, maths, and then my choice subjects were biology, chemistry, French, and DCG. And I think out of all of them, the most kind of valuable to me for the course was biology. I wouldn't really need the others too much. As far as I know, you needed the 2 science subjects and the language as well. But the biology was just really good to have. So I'll touch on that a bit more later. So now, as I said, I'm studying occupational therapy, and I think it's important to explain to you what it is, because I don't think many people know. And even I think if you asked occupational therapists themselves, they'd all give you a different description. So I'll try to explain it to you as best I can. So what I kind of like to think of OT is enabling people to take part in the things they do on a daily basis to the best of their ability. So that's really general and really broad, but that's just the way it is. So the things you do on a daily basis could be anything from getting dressed in the morning to cooking a meal during the day to going out with your friends in the evening or just taking part in your favorite hobby. So you're enabling people to do the things they want to do, the things they need to do, and the things they're expected to do. So something you want to do could be play the guitar. Something you need to do, you need to feed yourself. And something you're expected to do is you're expected to go to work every day that you're supposed to be there. And another thing that's really important to point out is that you're kind of focusing on what's meaningful to the person. So you kind of have to put your own feelings aside, and you're really just supporting people to do the things that are important to them and that they find really meaningful. And that can bring its own kind of challenges at times, but I obviously haven't come across that yet. But yeah, I think it's just really interesting that you kind of have to put your own feelings aside, and you have to just be really, what they say is client-centered. So you need to be really empathetic and be able to see things from the other person's perspective and put yourself in their shoes. So the course can be kind of tricky at times, but to be honest, I think you have that with every college course. I think you're going to have to put a bit of work in for all of them. So I'll give you a bit of an overview for the subjects or modules that I've done so far. Now, it's not a full list, but just off the top of my head, we would have done anatomy and physiology, which are kind of biology-based subjects. So anatomy is kind of the body structures or the body parts. So that's kind of tricky because a lot of the names of different muscles and joints and parts of the brain, it's all kind of in old terms and kind of Latin words. So like you just have to learn them off. Physiology then is body functions, so it's how the body works. So for them 2 subjects, it's really nice to have biology just to have the basis, because they can be quite tricky. Now, they were personally my favorite modules, but it was really nice just to have biology, to have the basis of, you know, whatever the digestive system or respiratory system, just so you can kind of bring that over, because it will help you a lot. Some other modules then, we did mental health. So we did 2 modules in that. So you can look at different conditions like anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, eating disorders. And we also looked at how it links to other kind of conditions like autism, so how they link together. We also did pediatrics, so how you'd work with children. Physical disability is another module we did. So you'd look at a lot of different conditions, for example, stroke, brain injury, spinal cord injuries, amputations, motor neuron disease, Parkinson's disease, and arthritis. Then we do fundamentals of occupational therapy, which is a lot of kind of theory. And there are these things called models that you kind of use to kind of structure how you'd work with people. They're kind of hard to describe, but it's kind of just using the evidence that's out there. Also, this year we would have done communication for practice, so before we went on placement. So that's just kind of teaching you kind of just how to talk to people, you know, how you would deal with someone who was upset or someone who's angry. So we would have done a lot of role plays with just in small groups. You know, you get a scenario, this is the patient and how would you deal with them? And just, I suppose, generally helping you to understand and develop your communication skills, just so you're explaining things really clearly and concisely for if you're talking to a patient. Because if we learn off all the muscles and they're in almost Latin, you just need to be able to describe that and break it down in simple terms for someone who has no idea what they mean. So just explain it in a way that they can understand and understand their injury or their condition a bit more. Also, we did a lot of psychology modules. So we would have done cognitive psychology, social psychology, developmental psychology, and health psychology, and some more as well, which kind of surprised me. I didn't think we'd do as much, but in hindsight, I kind of see why it's relevant, because it just helps you understand how someone else could be thinking, so you can help them a bit more. I suppose in a general sense, my favorite parts of the course are the pros to studying in NUIG, I suppose in particular. Well, I suppose all the courses, they have really small classes. So we have a class size of 31. So it's really nice because you get to know everybody within a week. And even we have a Snapchat group. So if anybody has a question, you know, they'll just pop it in, and usually everyone's in the same boat, everyone's stuck on the same assignment, and it's just really nice to put you at ease and just everyone knows each other. Also, I think the course in general is just really rewarding because you're helping people to do things that are really important to them. Also, there is a nice balance between kind of theory, group work, and practical work. So obviously this year there wasn't as much with COVID, but we did have a few labs on campus in around November, October time. So it's nice that you get to do all that stuff too. It's not just looking at the books all the time. As I said before, I really like the biology-based subjects, and biology was my favorite subject in school, so that didn't really surprise me. And also, which I think was really big for me, that the course is so broad. Like, you can work with so many different people in so many different settings, and as far as I know, you're kind of not stuck to the one area when you qualify. So after my 4 years, so you can kind of switch from one area to the other, and that flexibility was something that was just really appealing to me because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So it was just really nice to have all them options. I suppose the bits I don't like, I mentioned earlier that the amount of psychology really surprised me, and while I do find it really interesting, and I know there's a psychology person here, I think, but I found it was a bit of a pain at times, just, you know, assignments and stuff. Like, I found it really interesting, but then when you actually have to write it all down and do assignments on it, I found it a bit tricky, but that's just me personally. So then with placements.
Did you? Yeah, I was just going to say the placement. Tell them where you are now. Like, sorry.
Okay. So in general, placements, they're usually broken down into these sort of blocks. So it'll probably, you know, it could change from year to year, but generally you have 1 week at the end of the first year, which is an observation placement. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that placement because of COVID. So I think we all kind of felt a bit on the back foot going into this placement. So then in second year, you have 8 weeks. So I'm currently on my 5th week, towards the end of my 5th week of my 8-week placement. Then in third year, you have another 8 weeks. And in fourth year, you have 2 8-week blocks at the start of the year. So that's in your first semester before Christmas. So placements, I think you have to do them all in different settings. So you have to do particular types of settings for each placement. So you could go into community, an acute hospital, rehabilitation, pediatrics, or mental health. And I suppose this year more than ever, there's a lot of telehealth too. So with COVID, so just, you know, using something like Zoom to actually, you know, have an appointment with someone, do an assessment with them or things like that. So thank God my placement wasn't through telehealth. I think it's just really nice that I actually got to go out this year and actually be with people, because I think it'll be quite difficult, you know, just to even bond with the patient. I think it's very hard to do on screen. So I'm on a placement now in the National Rehabilitation Hospital in Dún Laoghaire in Dublin. So I'm on my 5th week. It's quite tiring, but like you do long days, and I think everyone says that about the placements. We had third years talking to us before we went, and they said, like, you know, it's just going to be tiring, but like it's so worth it. So well, the area I'm in is brain injury. So you'd be working with people who have had a traumatic brain injury. So that could be from having a fall or being in a car accident, or with people with stroke too. So honestly, it's so broad. Like you can be working on their cognition, or which is kind of like their thinking skills, so their attention, concentration, just their planning, their organizing. You can also be working on their visual skills, and even if their vision is, you know, if you can't make it better, you could be just working on techniques that you can use to compensate for visual loss. So it's just really, really broad. There's so many things up in the hospital, like they have a lot of powered mobility, so like electric wheelchairs. I suppose up in this hospital I'm in particular, they have a really strong focus on interdisciplinary team working, and I think that's where a lot of it is kind of going towards. So rather than you kind of having an occupational therapy department, everyone is just part of a team. So I'm on a particular ward, so you know there's a physio, an OT, a speech and language therapist, nurses, consultants, psychologists, dietitians, and everyone's just kind of working together. You know, you're not working in isolation, so everyone's just constantly communicating with each other through either documents, just catching up with each other in the corridors. They set goals with patients together, and it's really collective and kind of collaborative, and just really kind of focusing on the client or the patient, because I think when you work in teams, things run a bit more smoothly and everyone's on the same page. So I think that's the way things are going. I don't know if you have some more specific questions on placements. You might need to kind of direct me.
I think you've answered every question that I had anyway on my sheet. And I've asked you about, was there anything you didn't expect? Oh, you said the psychology. Yeah, you said the psychology. Yeah, a lot of the psychology. Yeah,
I think it was okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just so broad. Like, I suppose talking about the placements as well, like, you know, occupational therapy, your primary focus is kind of on their daily activities. So you could be working with someone in the kitchen, just helping them. I know a lot of people say, take the example of making a cup of tea, but like even helping someone getting dressed, that you usually kind of take the focus on the actual activity, but then you can also kind of break it down into their cognition or their visual skills. But usually you kind of look at the activity and then you break it down. I know it's kind of hard to describe, but
it sounds really interesting anyway, I think.
I think that's through it, but
yeah. Anybody have any questions? Is there anybody with anything at all to ask Leah? I don't see any little red light shining here, Leah. Yes, Leah would like to also say that even though chemistry wasn't useful, it was one of her favourite subjects as well. Isn't that correct, Leah? Yes, it is. I'm throwing that in there. Anyway, if you don't mind, Leah has already Leah's already talking to loads of students as it happens. Even before this, she is my go-to person for occupational therapy. So again, Leah, if it's okay with you, I will pass on your email address to more people than I have already passed it on to. Thank you very much. And thanks a million for your time and everything. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It was helpful. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Next we have Caoimhe. Caoimhe, are you still there? Caoimhe Keaveney. Caoimhe, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't see you now. You'll have to turn on your video, please. There she is. This is Caoimhe Keaveney, and she did her Leaving Cert in 2017. Is that correct, Caoimhe? Just to clarify. Yeah. Yes. and she's studying psychology in DCU, and she's going to talk to you all about it now. Off you go, Caoimhe. Thank you.
Hi everyone, how are you? So I'm studying the science of psychology in DCU. The CO code is DC208. The points in 2020 for it was 521. It's a level 8 degree. It's 4 years and it is accredited by the PSI. So if anyone's interested in psychology, make sure the course you do is accredited by the Psychological Society of Ireland, or it's no good to you. So I'm in my final year. I have 2 months left, counting them down. When I was in school, there's no particular subject really in school that you need. Biology, I suppose, can be of a slight help if you have it. If you don't have it, it's no worry. Like I did ag science, biology, business, home ec, French, and the regular 3. It doesn't really matter what you choose, to be honest. So the difference in this psychology course is it's a science. So I would recommend, if you are doing a psychology course, to do the science because it's research based and psychology is research based. So because it's a science, you do 2 biology modules. So you kind of start off modules in first year and then you just get deeper and deeper as the year goes on, as the 4 years go on. It's not kind of like you do certain things in first year and different things in second year. So you do 2 biology modules, which are tough. They're very specific. They're not really like school biology. And then there's a module, it's optional, it's psychopharmacology. So that's to do with drugs. And that's very specific as well. Now, I didn't do that module. So then there's cognition and neuroscience. So that's all about the study of the brain. It goes into a lot of detail. Currently, I'm doing neuroscience this semester. These are mandatory modules, so you have to do them. And they are tough modules, but you can get around them. There's essay writing more so you have all your research. You're not kind of going to be studying anything, so you will get through them. And then research methods is mandatory every semester from first to final year. So it's a mandatory module first to third year, and it's a lot of statistics. So if you did higher level maths or you didn't, it's not too bad, because although you're doing statistics, it's a lot on a computer, on a software called SPSS. So it's you're running multiple regressions, ANOVAs, linear regressions. These are all statistical tests you run if you're doing a research project. So then in final year, my thesis is due next week. So that's why you kind of have to, yeah. So my thesis, I'll give you an idea of it. It's I'm doing investigating if excess social media use is affecting people's social isolation, more so because of COVID, because everyone's screen time has drastically increased. That was kind of why I chose to do that topic. So that is your research methods module for final year. It's worth a lot of your degree. So third and fourth year count, but this is worth 2 modules each semester of my final year, and then I have 4 other modules each semester. So you have to get ethical approval. It is a proper research project. So you have to do that first semester. You have to be approved by the DCU Psychology Ethics Board. Once you get approval, then you can start conducting your research. So I did it all online surveys. And then you analyze it using your statistics, which you would have learned. Now you have guidance from a supervisor, but he can't do it for you. You have to do it yourself. He can just advise you. And then you write it up. So you kind of would have loads of practice writing up reports from first year. You start them in first year, so that's not the hardest part. So that's due next week, so that'll be great to have that out of the way. So there is a lot of science in it. So if you're not into science, I wouldn't recommend it because there is a lot of science in it. But if you don't do the science, then you won't really be able to do any research in psychology if that's what you're into. So then other modules you do looking at behavior. So for an example, I did a presentation in third year where I had to create an intervention to try and make people stop using their phones in, we'd say, a lecture. So my intervention was like you scan it coming in, and if you don't go on it for all the 12 lectures, you might get 1% to add to your grade at the end of the semester, which could be the difference from getting a 2-1 or a 1-1. So then business modules, so these are optional, so you can do HR, international relations, marketing, organizational psychology. So you don't have to do these, but if you want to do them, you have an option of doing them. Then you do educational psychology and a lot of development. So you do child development, adolescent development, and lifelong development. Then there is law, a module, law and neuroscience I did last semester. So you actually have law module, you look at law cases and everything. And this semester there's criminal psychology. So if you're interested in going down the forensic psychology route, there you get a taste of these modules. Then there's social psychology. So like you would have started, we definitely had a module, I think, in first year, and we had one last semester. For an example of this, I wrote my essay, I did 3,000 word essay last semester. I wrote on online dating, and then I had a 10-minute debate, and that was worth 30%, and I did that about the environment. So that's kind of an idea of what we covered in social psychology. And then other modules we touched on, we did one module on sports psychology, one module on like personality psychology. So you kind of do a module on most areas of psychology, but the ones I mentioned first are the ones you do more in-depth detail on. So then in third year, second semester, we got to do an intra placement. So this is 14 weeks and it's unpaid. So the college organised this placement for you. Now you can try and get your own placement, but it's really hard. No one wants you because they don't pay you, and because you're not actually qualified in anything. You're only a third-year psychology student. A lot of places don't want the hassle of taking you on, so the college do their best to get us placement. Now I was lucky and I got in a good placement with the HSE National Counselling Service in Dublin. So I was lucky, but I only got to do 9 weeks in the office because COVID. So I got to do a lot longer than other people, but then I finished it out at home for the remaining few weeks. So the placement is, like, for me, it was interesting. I got to see, obviously you can't see clients one-to-one, but I got to see all the notes of clients, what they were there for, what they had to discuss. I got to speak to counsellors firsthand, and it's a really hard job to get into. So if you're a counsellor in there, you've done well for yourself. So it was great experience in that behalf. Now other people got to do their placement in like a crime helpline. Some people got to go into hospitals, deal with children in special schools with like ADHD. Depending on what you're interested in, you can apply for, but it's not very easy to get to everything because there is restrictions. But no, I enjoyed my placement. So in general, the course, it's a very tough course. It is a heavy workload now, so you don't have a whole pile of hours, maybe 12 to 15 hours a week, but you have to do a lot of work outside of those hours. So it's a lot of independent study. So you'll have a lot of readings, a lot of assignments, and it's up to yourself to do it. No lecturer is gonna come and tell you, come on, now you need to submit this. If you don't submit it, it's your loss. So mainly essays, it's a lot of essays, but they're not like school essays, it's academic essays. So you can never give your own opinion in psychology. So you can never say, I think this, I think that. It has to be research. So someone found this, someone found that. You can never use your own opinion in an essay because the lecturer will just, it's not accepted. And then we follow very strict, it's called American Psychological Association, APA, it's referencing. So whatever course you do in college, you learn about referencing when you go in, but it's very strict. We have very strict referencing. So it's as small as the type of font, your spacing, how you indent, it's very specific. But like that, that's easy. Once you get into it, you just follow the guidelines, change it after you've wrote your essay. So this year, we usually do, so it's heavy workload throughout the semester. So we have CAs, so we generally get essays as a big part, presentations, and then we usually have 4 to 5 exams, which are usually essays as well at the end of each semester. Now, because of COVID, because we have essay exams, it's not possible to do them this year. So ours is completely CA for final year college. So it is a bit of a change for us, but we're used to essays anyway. So it just means instead of getting one 3,000 word essay in one exam, we've two 3,000 word essays per module or something of that equivalent. So that's just a heavy workload again, but it's nothing you wouldn't have done already. Another good thing I do like about the course is it's small. So I think I have maybe 36, 37. And we know every lecturer, and every lecturer knows us. So if you have any problem, you can talk to the lecturer. They'll email you back. They know who you are. It's like we have the advantage of knowing them from first year. So that is great. And then DCU in general, it's a very friendly college, loads of societies. Whatever you're into, you can join. There's great nightlife in Dublin if you're interested. Well, there was before COVID, which helps getting through college. The rent is expensive though. So when I was in first year, I didn't get DCU accommodation. It is a bit cheaper, but it's very hard to get. So I had to live in student accommodation basically across the road, which was €1,000 a month for very basic accommodation, which I think went up in second year of college, but it has come down since. But then I got a house in third year, and I have a house at the minute, and my rent has gone down from 450 to 500 a month. So if you look hard enough, you will get the rent down. But like Sean said earlier, I would recommend living in student accommodation in first year anyway to get to know people. Yeah, I don't know, is there anything I'm missing?
What have you any idea what you're going to do when you finish? What area you're going to go into?
Oh yes, so
or is that too?
thing
I don't know if you
about-
want to talk about that, but I'm just wondering.
No, I have to think about that now, I'm afraid. So the thing about psychology is if you want to do a course where you have a job after 4 years, this is not the course for you, because you won't get a good job after 4 years with good money. So you have your degree, it's a very good degree to have. So usually if you want to do a master's, you have to get your 2-1, at least a 2-1 for most masters. So I'm thinking of doing organizational psychology. It's a 1-year full-time master's, and I'm actually looking at doing it abroad. And hopefully to keep going, because while you're in education, I find it's easier just keep going, and I'll have a good job after 1 year. So it's a 1-year master's, and it's kind of like HR, you'll work in a business. It's like psychology within a business. Now you can do counseling, but from my placement, it's a 2-year master's, and you're working a long time in different areas, and they recommended to me counselors to wait until you're older and have life experience. You can do clinical psychology, which is 4 more years because you have to become a doctor. You can do sports psychology, forensic psychology, social psychology, health psychology, educational psychology. It goes on, but they range from 1 to 2 year masters, and placement that could be unpaid. It depends, like it's expensive depending on what you want. So for me, the best option is a 1-year master's in organization. It's something I'm interested in and I can travel with.
That sounds brilliant. Good stuff. I'm just trying to think. I think you covered nearly everything that I was going to ask you. Is there? Yeah, you obviously then you're looking at more the HR side is your favorite part of the course then as well, was it? Or is there any particular part that you liked and any particular part that you did not like? I think you said, did you say the essays, or did you mind them after a while?
Oh no, you get used to them. No, I'd say my favorite part of the course, I wouldn't say I loved anything in particular. And a lot of people in the course would be the same as that. But like there's some modules like philosophy I would have no interest in, or at the minute conceptual thinking about specific areas in psychology. Now this is the hardest module in the course. We have left it for the last semester. So those modules to me I find boring. I wouldn't be very interested in, but other people might love them. I suppose the placement opportunity is great because many psychology courses don't have the placement opportunity. Now it got cut short for us and we didn't get the full experience, but it's definitely an advantage, and it's actually really nice to get a break from college because that first semester or third year is very heavy. So it was lovely to get that break, and then you have that long break because it's only I think 1 assignment and a presentation we have to do for our intra. So when you come back to final year, you know, at least you had a few months break longer than summer that you can be prepared for the heavy workload to hit you again.
Caoimhe, when you were leaving cert, you did a huge amount of research. Now I'm always going on about research. Do you have any you did a huge amount of research about what you wanted to do, and we did a lot of talking about it and everything. And I'm just wondering, have you any advice for people who maybe are confused and still maybe don't know 100% what they want to do, or have you any advice, bar just like I would say research, but you know, we had a chap on, Killian Madden, in the previous Past, Present, Future, and he said, you know, he also did a huge amount of research, but he said until you actually get into the course, that sometimes that research is okay to get there, but until you actually get a feel for it and get to see what's actually involved in it, you know, that we kind of open it up for you. I don't know what you feel. Have you any advice, or maybe you don't? I don't know.
Yeah, like when I was in Leaving Cert, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And if I went back and sat the Leaving Cert right now, I don't even know whether I do the same course or not. I still wouldn't know what I want to do. So what I'd recommend or advise anyone in that position is pick a general course, because psychology is a general course. Like there's so many areas I can specialize in now, which is great. So like do general business, general science, like a psychology, like a general degree, because I didn't want a year out. And at least you have so many options, because as well as that, once you have a level 8 degree, you can literally do a master's in anything, which is ridiculous. I could go sit my law exams, I could go sit my accounting exams. So if you do a general degree, you're not going to be stuck. Whereas if you go in and do primary teaching, you're stuck being a primary teacher. So that's the best advice I can give anyone. And I definitely do my research for certain things, like for example, this course, there's placement, it's a science, and it's PSI accredited. But yet, like when you look in the modules are so different what you think when you actually get into the course, or what you think is going to be different. And college education is different to second level education. So you just get used to it. Everyone's on the same boat and you will be fine. You have to just do the work, you get used to it, and it'll be worth it in the end.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And again, if anyone has any questions about psychology, we would love to hear them. Probably not. They're very shy altogether tonight, so I don't think you get anything out of them. But if anyone does, again, Caoimhe, if it's okay with you, I might send them on to you, email them on to you or whatever, if that's all right.
Yeah,
brilliant.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Caoimhe. Again.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks a million. Thank you. And finally, last but not least, tonight is Claire Glynn. Are you there, Claire? You were there earlier. There she is. Yeah, I can't hear you now. You'll have to unmute. Unmute away there. Brilliant. Super. So Claire did her Leaving Cert in 2012, and she is a home economics teacher, and she's also going to talk to you about another career she had, a brief career, but she may go back to you never know, which is cabin crew as well on British Airways, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, British Airways. So she's going to talk to you a bit about everything. So away you go, Claire.
Okay, so I did my Leaving Cert in 2012 in Glenamaddy, and I did all the core subjects, and then I did biology, French, ag science, and home ec. And then the only thing that I really wanted to do was home ec teaching. Like I was trying to think of other things to put on the CAO, and I remember I filled up all the spaces of level 8 and all the spaces of the 6 and 7 because I just, I was told to do that, so I did that. But the only thing that I really wanted to do was the home ec teaching, and at the time I didn't mind whether I did home ec and biology or if I did home ec and religion. Like it didn't really matter to me. I just really wanted to get in and like do the home ec. When I was in college, I was thinking like, oh, if I'd done the religion, like it actually did seem to be a good bit easier than the biology and the science. But in like now, when I've gone out and looked for jobs and things, I realized that with the biology, there seems to be a lot more jobs like with that. And as well, in terms of going traveling, like if I wanted to go, like I'd be thinking maybe sometime I might like to go out to Dubai or Abu Dhabi or something, and out there like home ec wouldn't be a big one. Like they do a bit of food technology, but biology and science would be a big subject out there. And like the other ones in Angela's was you could do religion or Irish, and like they wouldn't, to the best of my knowledge, they wouldn't really be a thing out there. So the biology is great for that. When like I went to Angela's, I was a little bit shocked that it was like 9 to 5 every single day, like tiny class numbers, like when everyone there is saying like we have small classes of like 30 people. I think there was 14 people in my class of home ec and biology, and you're with the same people like all the time. You know your lecturers really well, which is good, but it is very much like a secondary school. Boys can definitely do it as well, but it is predominantly girls. We had one boy in our year, but like it's definitely open to boys too, and definitely would be a nice job for boys as well. I lived with like people in the IT in Sligo, and I lived like on the Sligo IT campus, and I liked that. And then I would go in the morning, like, you know, to Angela's, and come out in the evening on the bus. And some people live on the campus, and there is advantages and disadvantages of both. Like I liked that you were away from it in the evening, and like, you know, I had my friends from school, like a lot of people from Glenamaddy that year went to Sligo, and like, you know, it was good for going out and making friends and things as well. But it did have like downside, like, you know, you have to pay for the bus in and out, unless you have a car, or, you know, you can get a lift and things. Just there I'm thinking about, like, you know, paying for the bus in and out. A thing that I didn't know, and like it wouldn't put me off doing the course or anything like that, but it's just something to know, like if you are doing it, that when you are starting in first year and when you go down for like your induction day, you have to spend like over €500. Like you have to buy a sewing machine, materials, chef knives, your chef and uniform, like for science, like your lab. I think everyone actually had to buy a lab coat, and like your dissection kits, just a lot of things that like wouldn't put you off doing it, but just to know, like if you are doing it, just maybe make a note and save up for that. So like the subjects that you do then, I knew, like, because I was doing biology, that I'd be doing like physics, chemistry, microbiology and things like that. But the other people doing like religion and Irish, they actually have to do that as well. They have to do a lot of science too. And like I know when we started off in first year, everyone was a bit shocked, like we were all doing chemistry, and they'd be kind of thinking, why are we doing this? But it actually does tie into home ec. Like you need to know that for the better understanding. Like I like enjoyed the course later on, like better in my third and fourth year. I enjoyed it, but much more. Like we were doing more psychology and more like philosophy, and I really enjoyed those. Textiles is a big part of it as well, and like, you know, the cooking, but it's not as much as I would have thought. Like I would have thought, oh, I'll be doing loads of cooking and loads of sewing, but it's actually an awful lot of science too. And I think that's the same for most courses now. Like there's so much science in them. I had teaching practice every year, which I loved, but is actually really tough. You get like examined on it, and that's the same with all subjects, teaching practice. But like when you get examined, it is quite stressful. But every year when you go out on that teaching practice, it really reminds you like why you're doing this and why you want this job. Like I wouldn't say I enjoyed my course in college, but now I think that I have like the best job ever. Like I couldn't, you know, like I really, really enjoy my job, and I'm so glad that I picked that course and did it. When I finished in Angela's, then I went to London and I got a job there teaching food technology and textiles. They have home ec there, but it's more common that it would be two separate subjects as food tech and textiles. And there seems to be loads of jobs out there for that, and as well for science, because they seem to be looking for teachers all the time. So I got my job with an agency, and that was all great. And I did a year teaching, and I like really enjoyed like my job and loved it, but I wanted to go traveling. So I kind of thought, well, I'll either move home for a year and save and then go traveling, or else I might go out to Dubai or something and teach science out there maybe for a while and save and then go traveling. And then I just decided, I can't really remember how I decided, but I decided to apply for an air hostessing job, or cabin crew with British Airways. And that like was the best decision ever, because I did that. You're a while waiting to find out whether you got in or not, and you get called for assessment days, and you know, a very long, slow like process. But when I got to do that, then I did 6 weeks of training, and it was really intense. I thought that I was going to be learning like about tea and coffee and customer service and things, but it's way more about safety and like learning about like all the medical things, and like learning nearly, you know, how to deal with every sort of a situation. And that training was so intense, and I didn't really know it was going to be like that at all. But again, like I'm glad I did it. And then once I got the job, it was great. Like I got to go all over the world. It was like a long haul cabin crew. And like I would get the odd flight, like short haul, like maybe like to Manchester or Edinburgh or something like that for a night or two. But I alongside that was doing teaching with an agency, which was great because I could just go onto the app every morning at like 7 o'clock and say whether I wanted to go into work or not, and they'd send you anywhere you were willing to go. And it was great, like to make money alongside the air hostessing, because like when I was doing the cabin crew, like you're making enough money to survive and all the rest of it, but like I really wanted to experience all the tourist things when I did it. So I did that for a year and I loved it, but like it wouldn't be something that I would want to do long term because of the jet lag, and just it's kind of hard like to plan your life as well, because every month you get a different roster, and every like it's really exciting, like you're working with different people all the time and you're so excited like to get your roster that night every month, because you get to find out like where you're going, and just it's really exciting. But like long term it would be like if you had something that you needed the day off, you were never really guaranteed that day off. And as well, the rules were really strict. If you were ever late, it was in your contract. I think, yeah, you could like be let go if you were late. You could never be late. Like that, like, you know, with your punctuality, you had to be really neat in your appearance and be really polite to everyone, no matter what. And be good at dealing with like conflict and things, because there would be like conflict sometimes, and just be able to like dismantle or de-escalate situations. But anyways, I left that and came back to Ireland, and I moved home to Glenamaddy and went teaching for a year. And I was really, really happy there, and I loved the school I was teaching in. But I decided to move to Dublin then because like all my friends, a lot of my friends were in Dublin, and I just thought it was better like social life and thing. And now I'm still in Dublin and I really like it here, and I like love my job. But I wouldn't like I really, really like my job, but I'd be so aware now that like I might not stay doing this job forever. Like I might go on and do like another course and do like maybe psychology, or I might go and do law, or like that you're always like when I was in Leaving Cert doing that, I thought I'm going to be a home ec teacher for the rest of my life. But now I realize like you'll always like be doing something else, and you might go back to it and come, you know, move around. But I don't think that I'll stay like forever as the one thing, you know. And that's really it. Do you have any questions for me then, or Ms. Hardyman or anyone?
Tell them, just going back to can you tell them some of the places that you travel to, and
Oh yeah,
the accommodation and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. So like I would have been to China, like did the Great Wall of China. I was in Australia, Singapore, Thailand. I was in Thailand a few times, like loads of cities in America, Dubai, Doha. But where else is there? Loads of Europe as well. And it was great actually with British Airways, you see. So I was living in London, which was great. And I actually like had my friends and all that there, which was great because I'd met my friends through teaching. But when you actually join the cabin crew, you're working with different people all the time. So it is hard to like maintain friendships and things with different people because you might only meet them once. So it was good to have my like base of friends there in London already from my previous job. But where am I going now with this? What was I saying there? I'm having a blank.
I'd say where you stayed and things like that.
Oh yeah. So sorry. So then anyways, every month you get your roster and like you go to all the different places, and I have been like, you know, to loads of places in America and like all around Europe and everything. And with British Airways, you get to kind of pick where you go. Like they mightn't always give you the job that you want to, the place where you want to go, but you get like some say on it. And when you get there, you'd be staying in like a 5-star hotel, and you would have to pay for your food and things would it be subsidized. And also with British Airways, you get quite long trips compared to other airlines. Like I know with I know some girls who work with Emirates, and that has a massive benefit in that like they pay for your living accommodation, and like, you know, that's a massive help, like you get free accommodation to live in, but they get put on a lot of the same routes, whereas with British Airways it's much more open and you get to pick your own routes. But most people that I know that do the job don't stay in it that long, and that's just because it's such a busy lifestyle, you know. It would be something that I would say to get a degree first, or, you know, some sort of a qualification, whatever kind of a qualification, and then go on and apply for this after, because so many people apply. I know the time I got the job, they told us that there were 700 jobs, and I was kind of thinking, well, that's a lot of jobs. And then they said 37,000 people had applied. So like I know I probably got in because I had the home economics and, you know, it linked in with it. But when I was going for that job, and if anybody's ever interested in doing something like that, even after school, just get in touch with me and I give you like tips and things. But like it's your interview and, you know, being really confident, and like it was all about being prepared for that interview and, you know, showing them that you look like one of them, and, you know, that you really, really want this job and that you're a team player and really punctual. And that's another thing about Angela's as well. I'm just thinking about the punctuality, and attendance was really, really important as well there. Yeah.
Just in relation back to the course in Angela's, the home economics teaching, in your time it was the 4-year course, Claire,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah. Now it's 5 years.
Yeah, 5
So
years.
just to, the final year has fees. I know I've told them this before, but just to point that out again, you didn't have that, or you were lucky
And
not
it's
to.
I was really lucky not to have that, but it was like, I wouldn't put you off doing the course, but it was like, I have other like my brothers who go to college, and I know like they just, you know, they pay their fee, you know, that's a few thousand or whatever, but they don't constantly have to buy things. Whereas when I was in college, I'd be like, can I have money for wool? I need money for this, I need money for that. Like there is a lot of things along the way that you need to buy, you know, especially in that first year, like there was a lot of stuff. And it wouldn't be something I'd be saying, don't do the course because of that. It's just like, if you get a job this summer or whenever you can get a job again, just be prepared for that. But it definitely wouldn't be something that put you off.
It's nice to be aware of it though.
Yeah, like I didn't know that, and, you know, and as well, go down and have a look at it and see where it is. Like it is out in the countryside. I took it that, you know, Sligo, and, you know, and I didn't go down and look at it because I just kind of thought, you know what, no matter what, I want to go there. That's the job that I want to do. And as well, when I was there, I was kind of thinking, I'm not that keen on this, but like at the end of the day, that's the only thing that I want to do. Like it's a vocation. It's, everyone who goes there, I think, would say that, like that's just what you're meant to do. Yeah.
Brilliant, Claire. Thank you so much. Has anybody got any questions at all about either home economics teaching, or about cabin crew, or about science, or anything? Claire covers it all there. So have you any questions about anything in that? No, definitely not asking any questions.
No, that's okay. But if you do have questions again, like just get in touch, or even like in a few years' time after you do whatever you're doing, and if you're interested in doing the cabin crew or things like that, and if there's ever anything I can help with, like just get in touch.
That's super. Thank you so much, Claire.
No problem.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And I'll pass on your email if that's okay, Claire.
Yeah, no worries.
If anybody has any questions about it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Claire.
No
Thanks
problem.
a million. Thanks to you all tonight. And we're finishing up with Claire now. She's the last one for this past, present, future, and hopefully we'll have another few sessions again. Possibly before the summer. We'll see how we go. So I hope that you got something from that, and it is recorded and it will be up on the website underneath the link for the other past, present, future. So again, if you have any questions, you know where I am. You can email them on to me and I'll pass them on to them, or I'll pass on their email addresses to any of the past pupils from tonight or from the previous one as well, from the previous past, present, future. That's it. So I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you got something from it, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, good night.